if you have ever watched a fragrance review and heard someone saying like, I'm getting bergamot, pink pepper, jasmine, sandalwood and vanilla in the opening, they are reading the notes. And I'm not being shady, I'm being scientific. A normal human brain can only translate and process 3 notes at the same time. I learned this at a perfume making workshop recently, along with few other facts that completely changed how I think about perfumery and collecting perfumes. So if you are interested in some fun facts that I learned, then just keep on watching. So I spent an entire morning at a perfume making workshop in Hungary. And I guess by now most of you know that I am originally from Hungary, but living in the Netherlands. It is usually one of the most asked questions in the comments due to my accent. So when I heard it from my friend that there is an opportunity to sign up for this workshop, I immediately said yes. And let me tell you, I had some expectations. I thought that I'm going to live here, smelling like a French perfumer who's been doing this for 30 years. Well, the reality, I walked in, I sat down, we had a table with about 30 to 35 little bottles in front of me, and I immediately felt like I was back in a chemistry class. But this time, I actually wanted to pay attention. I was really interested. So the first part was theory, then we smelled some raw materials. Not finished perfumes, but actually the building blocks like rose oil, jasmine absolute, aldehydes, wood or musks. And I can tell you that some of them smell nothing like what you think they will. Like really at all. But we will get to that. Now, one of the first things that the instructor talked about wasn't even about the notes or blending. It was about why perfume is so popular right now, especially with millennials and Gen Z. And he said something that made me put down my sense strip a little bit and really listen and also think. So what he said is that perfume is what's called affordable luxury. And the reason why it's really blooming with younger generations is because a lot of us have quietly accepted that traditional luxury, like owning a nice big house, buying a brand new car, that might never happen. Or at least not anytime soon. But a 200 euro perfume or maybe a 300 euro niche bottle, that is something that you can actually save up for. That is something that's more reachable and you can own. And, when you spray it on, it makes you feel a little bit like you bought into something luxurious, even if the rest of your life doesn't look like an Instagram photo. And honestly, I felt that in my soul because I've absolutely done that. We all have. So the next time someone says young people are just irresponsible with money, buying expensive perfumes, no, the psychology is actually much deeper. We are buying a feeling of luxury that we can actually afford. Okay, so this next one is going to ruffle some feathers, and I need you to stay with me. So the instructor casually mentioned that a normal human nose can only pick up approximately 3 notes at the same time upon first sniff. 3, maybe 4. And that's the limit of the brain in terms of how much information it can actually process. And I just sat there thinking about every fragrance review I've ever watched here, where someone lists off like 7, 8, 9 notes in the opening with the first 2 seconds. And look, I'm not saying those notes aren't in the perfume, they are, but if someone claims they can individually detect bergamot, lemon, pink pepper, cardamom, lavender, and violet leaf the moment they spray it and sniff it, they're reading the notes from a list. And that's what's happening. And now, please don't go back to my older videos and start counting how many notes I was picking up. Okay? But here's what's actually going on. Your nose picks up an overall impression, a kind of shape of the scent. And then your brain, if you are trained, starts to pull it apart over time. That's why when you go back to the perfume again and again, you start noticing some things that you missed. So please, next time you're testing a perfume and you can only smell like floral something and sweet something, I don't know, something wood, you are not bad at this. You are just a normal human. And honestly, that was weirdly freeing to hear from an actual professional. Then we have another interesting one. So remember when I said some raw materials smell nothing like what you would expect. Let me talk about the rose situation because this genuinely shocked me. So we smelled two things back to back. First, we smelled rose oil, and this is the actual rose essential oil extracted from real rose petals. And you know, it smelled like like potpourri, like something old, powdery, almost dated, like really an old bathroom that hasn't been redecorated since the 70s. You know, not that fresh, dewy, modern rose you smell in perfumes nowadays. Not even close. But here is the thing, that rose accord that you're smelling is made by combining multiple notes. It's not one thing from nature, it's really constructed. So when a perfume says it contains Bulgarian rose, what you're smelling in most modern perfumes is an accord, a carefully built illusion of rose, not the raw material. Because the raw oil, honestly, it doesn't smell like something that you think when you think of rose smells like. And that completely rewired my brain about what natural actually means in perfumery. Okay, the next one. This one made me a little bit sad, but also fascinated. But you may have heard about it already. We talked about fruit notes like peach, strawberry, raspberry, or apple. All those juicy, fruity openings we love. And the instructor just said it flat out, you cannot extract the smell from most of the fruits. It is not possible. You can press a peach all day, but you're not going to get the perfume oil out of it. Instead, perfumers use certain types of aldehydes. For example, specifically Aldehyde C14, that's the smell of peach. Aldehyde C16, that's strawberries. These are all synthetic molecules created in a lab to mimic what we imagine those fruits smell like. And I had this moment, where I thought, wait, every fruity perfume I've ever loved, none of it came from an actual fruit, right? And no, it didn't. But here is why that's actually okay. Those synthetic molecules are consistent at least. Every batch will smell exactly the same. Now, if you think about it, a real peach can vary widely depending on where it was grown, where it was picked, how ripe it was. And synthetics will give perfumers control. And that's why your favorite fruity floral smells exactly the same every time you buy a new bottle. So next time someone tries to tell you that it is synthetic and synthetic ingredients are lower quality than natural, remind them that without synthetics, the entire fruity fragrance category wouldn't exist. Okay, so at this point, my brain was completely full and we hadn't even started blending yet. But before I tell you what perfume I actually made, and trust me, it's something that you want to hear. Have you ever been to a perfume making workshop or have you ever tried blending your own scent? Tell me in the comments because I'm genuinely curious what you have created. And also, which of these facts surprised you the most? Drop it down below and I will read every single comment. And if you are enjoying this behind the scenes content, then please also hit that like button. It really helps the channel and honestly, I'd love to do more videos like this where we go beyond just reviewing bottles and actually understand what's inside them. But then let's move on to the next section, which is about my perfume. So we had the chance to put together our own perfume and leave with a 50 ml version of it. Now, I have to admit, I went with a concept in my mind. I was not sure if we will have any limitations. Of course, I knew that I wanted something sweet, fruity, floral with a little bit of tropical touch. So we were asked also to keep it around 9, maybe 10 notes. And all the notes that we used were already mixed and diluted to a kind of 20% oil concentration, just to make the process easier. So this one, here you go. So what I picked as my own signature perfume were lemon, ginger, sweet orange in the top. Then, of course, peach, tropical mix with a touch of coconut, and orange blossom in the mid. And then vanilla, white musk, and vetiver in the base. So, what do you think based on the notes? How did I do? Well, I have to admit, I am damn proud of myself. It smells great. I have worn it a few times now and it lasts like 6 to 8 hours easily on my skin. And yes, I am emotionally attached to it somehow, but I really, really like it. And yes, it is a bit basic as it only has these 9 notes, but hey, it was my first attempt. But you know, it still has a proper build. It has a full body. It is sweet, fruity, and I really love the tangy opening from the ginger. Then, as it dries down, it almost goes into that sweet, fluffy orange blossom territory. You know, a little bit like Love Don't Be Shy, but with a bit more zing in the opening and a creamy coconut in the dry down. But it doesn't become still that sickly sweet or annoying, and that touch of tropical mix makes it just perfect for the summer. It is bearable, and again, I actually quite love it. So that was my perfume making workshop experience, and honestly, I walked out of there with way more than just a bottle. I walked out understanding that so much of what we think we know about perfume, like naturals versus synthetic, what we are actually smelling, why we even buy this stuff, there is a whole layer underneath that we never talk about in reviews. And I think knowing these things doesn't take away the magic. If anything, it makes me appreciate the artistry even more. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't. And you know the drill. Just keep on smelling good and feeling good. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.